I have some new technology in my hand here, so just give me a minute. I want to thank everybody for their participation and continued interest in our school bond proposal. So thank you so much for coming out. And if you are coming again, thank you again for being here. Quick introductions and greetings. I'm Kimberly Von Hiltmeyer. I'm the interim superintendent for Almont Community Schools. This actually marks my 30th year in education, and all of which has been spent here with Almont Community Schools. Very proud to be here. Been given a lot of opportunities and look forward to continue to lead this district. On that note, I would like to introduce the board members we have here tonight. I'll start there. Mrs. Smith. Mr. St. Ash, Mr. Battani, Mr. Wade. Okay. Obviously, we are missing some of our board members here tonight. Ms. Sue Frederickson could not join us tonight. Mr. Dallas Walton could not join us tonight. And Mrs. Angela Edwards, please keep her in your thoughts and prayers. She's been admitted to the hospital today. So thank you for that. As you know, our election day is right here, right around the corner, 15 more days. So it's definitely, we're definitely in the countdown here, February 27th. Just to remind you of our mission and our vision for our district, our mission statement: to nurture, prepare, and empower our students to reach their full potential. Our vision statement: our students will be prepared to positively impact their future, their community, and the world. I'm sure that we're all here in the interest of our students and to ensure that we are making the students' educational experience the most impactful, the most meaningful it can possibly be throughout their career here. For bond information, I just want to make sure, if you haven't already, that you're visiting our district website at almontschools.org. You can click on the tab for bond information. It's in the top left once you go to the website. And I will provide a QR code for this towards the end of the presentation as well, if you wanted to go there tonight. On the page, you'll also see FAQ documents, work lists, plans, the first town hall presentation, and our treasury application. I want to do a thank you, shout out for those of you who have visited me at the ACS bond booth. I have set those up. Typically, it's been at basketball games so that I can reach different levels. I've been to the middle school a couple times, the high school here a few times, and also attended the youth basketball this past weekend. And I really appreciate you taking the time to come speak with me or pick up literature for the bond. So there will be a couple more opportunities, I believe, next week, Wednesday, Thursday. I will also be at the bond booth. Please stop by if this is not your comfort level to ask a question or make a comment in front of a town hall. Please know I do provide those one-on-one opportunities as well. Tonight's agenda is really simple. It's really layman's terms, if you will, a 20-minute presentation approximately, just to highlight the main parts of the bond project. Public comment. Tonight I'm going to ask that if you do have a question, that you submit the questions as you walked into the auditorium. There is a paper that you can fill out, and those questions then will be answered within 5 business days if it's something that we can answer right away. If not, if it's something that's going to come later, like a design phase question, I'll definitely still reach out to you and let you know, but would like to get your question answered in a timely manner. And if you're interested, I know some community members have been reaching out that they'd like to put eyes on the facilities themselves. I will offer a high school tour after the presentation and the public comment later this evening. So I'm going to jump right in. As far as some of our frequently asked questions, which you'll see an updated document on our page. But one of the questions that keep coming up about sinking fund is how much is in our district's sinking fund. After the recent tax collection, which I confirmed with our business manager, currently Almont Community Schools has $755,323.78 in the sinking fund. The definition, a sinking fund is a savings account into which a local district can deposit voter-approved local millage revenue in order to pay cash for projects or repairs as they arise, rather than having to borrow through short-term notes or long-term bonds. The reason why I wanted to make sure I made note of this in this presentation, obviously our sinking fund dollars of $755,000 is not going to touch what we're asking for in this school bond proposal. I thought it was important then. I just wanted to provide a quick example. I went to our Treasury application and just wanted to look at obviously a potential emergency which could lead to replacing a boiler and what that would look like. The range to replace a boiler, depending on the school building, is anywhere from $300,000 to $500,000. So if you look at our sinking fund being $755,000, that's taking quite a chunk, like 66% of that sinking fund away. So I just, again, want to make sure that there's no misconception that, there's no way that we can touch the projects that we're presenting tonight with our sinking fund dollars. Again, it's really about that being an emergency fund. And on that note, I know it's important to you as well, and I think rightfully so. Unfortunately, I can't speak to past administration or promises that were made, but I can and will identify high priority areas that will be taken care of with our sinking fund dollars as we move forward and as I work together with the Board of Education. We'll be soliciting input from our maintenance director, and when appropriate, and after the bond is decided on February 27th, then we'll decide whether we're going to proceed with a new sinking fund millage. Not sure. Try that again. There we go. Okay. And why are we proposing the $58.4 million bond? Well, just like a home, we are looking to update our facilities here on our school grounds. With our high school being 35 years old, our elementary 24 years old, and the middle school 18 years old, we're in need of some of these infrastructural updates to include, but not limited to, HVAC, boilers, roofs, parking lots, safety glass, classroom and office furniture, and lighting across the district. Of course, other focus areas, safety and security enhancements, 21st century learning environments, band, choir, art, athletics, and playgrounds across the district. None of this would have been possible. Part of the Treasury application, we had to submit an enrollment projection. Upon doing this through the Michigan Alliance for Student Opportunity, I believe formerly known as Middle Cities, they put together this projected enrollment for us, and we can see within 5 years, our enrollment is at 14.7%. Which in numbers, we are over 200 students in 5 years with this projection. As you know, the middle school already houses both preschool programs, and our 4th grade currently just came over to the middle school for this school year, at the very least, right, for this school year and moving forward. Currently, all classrooms at OP are utilized for instruction. Truth be told, there's one classroom that I guess you would say, quote unquote, is empty, but will be filled as soon as we have another special education teacher hired. So all the classrooms are spoken for at the Orchard Primary. Again, this programming affecting our students, impacting our students, all the decisions that we make. If we're successful then in securing this bond, we would be getting our money through a millage here from our taxpayers. So it's important to understand what a millage is. The definition of millage is a rate as of taxation expressed in mills per dollar. Property tax rates in Michigan are expressed in mill rates. A mill is equal to $1 of tax for every $1,000 of taxable value. For example, if your total tax rate is 7 mills and your taxable value is $100,000, your taxes owed would be $700 annually. It's important to know that the bond funds cannot be used for teacher salaries and curriculum. Bond funds, of course, offset the general fund expenditures, and school revenue comes from the state, local taxes, grants, fundraising. Wanted to make sure you also saw a slide here of the past millage rates. For 2023, you paid 8.45 mils. 2024, your last tax collection, 8 mils. If the bond passes, your 2025 taxes will be at 7 mils. Frequently asked question, if we lower the bond, won't the millage go down? The answer is no. If we are at $58.4 million, we're still seeking, we're at 7 mils. If we're at $20 million, we're at 7 mils. The term changes, of course, but the mills stay the same to take advantage of the state loan program that allows for the lower interest rates. If we do pass this bond, we have selected 2 partners to help us out. Ron Selly, the construction manager. Ron Selly and then French, our architect. Ron Selly manages approximately $350 million in annual construction projects. There's the website there. If you were interested in seeing a little bit more work or background, please visit ronselly-inc.com. French Associates brings over 52 years of experience to Almont. French Associates was the original architect for all Almont facilities. Please visit their website, frenchandassociates.biz, if you want to learn a little bit more about the history or background of French and see some of their work. To kind of start going into each of the buildings then, the overviews, just quickly. Almont High School, again, we're looking to make sure we can address the safety and security needs of the building, infrastructural overhaul, the facility upgrades and renovations, athletic and recreation improvements. This is just one slide that I, again, just took from the first presentation, just the core to demonstrate the core of the high school building. The reason I selected this slide too, during the tour, if you'd like to come on the tour, just a couple of the areas that I'm going to highlight for you, in need, of course, in major repair. And this is just a way, then, of course, addressing in the bond ways that we could make these spaces mirror 21st century learning spaces, more collaborative spaces. We could also address our K through 12 STEM and STEAM initiative by opening up these spaces. Just as an example, Media Center Reimagined. I know I mentioned probably a few times in the first town hall, to the left here, the before picture. This is what you're going to see actually tonight if you go into the Media Center. That's exactly what you're going to see, same look that you're seeing on the slide here. In 1994, when I walked into the Media Center, I'm walking in again at 2024, and it's the same Media Center, same furniture, same look. Nothing's been updated. The after picture then is the reimagined, making it a more open, collaborative space. I believe mirroring more of a post-secondary, getting them prepared for a post-secondary experience. The multi-purpose building, of course, this would be, I guess you could say, the hottest question. So I wanted to make sure I put it as a frequently asked question. What will go into this building? I think if we had a nickel for every time we were asked that, you can imagine we wouldn't have to go for a bond, maybe. I don't know. But this has been the pressing question. If the bond does pass, the specific details for this facility would be determined through coordination between design experts, district staff, such as the superintendent, band director, and the maintenance director, and community input. It's really important to highlight that a lot of the decisions for this multi-purpose center building that's all inclusive of this bond, those decisions are going to be made during the design phase. So some of the questions that are out there, they simply can't be answered because we don't have the answers to them. We won't know them until the design phase takes place, and that's after the bond passes. I did this just to, actually, that's not a bad picture. That turned out bigger there. Again, just a sample only. I wanted to highlight, just because there's been a lot of talk and full transparency, for example, of like how our band program would benefit from having a multi-purpose facility. Well, certainly, as we spoke in our first town hall, it's going to be very advantageous to have our marching band be a part of this, and scheduling, we'd make sure that that happens in this multi-purpose center, getting them off of the parking lot, making it a more safe, sounder, experience for them in a multi-purpose center. So absolutely. But there's also talk of a potential band room. And if you can look there, it would, I guess right here, I don't know. Let me do my little pointer here for you. would be the potential band area, band room with a roll-up doors potentially. But again, this is all part of a design phase. So nothing is set in stone, but there are plans and different samples. So if you see different samples of the multi-purpose center floating around, it's because that's what it is. These are ideas, and we won't solidify these until we work with our architect and our CM to solidify what's going to go in the multi-purpose center. So I'm sorry if that's not exactly what you were looking for an answer, but again, a lot of these questions or some of the questions out there will not be determined until our bond passes and we enter the design phase. And we do intend to include all stakeholders that have, an interest or involvement in that program, in that specific program. Of course, again, our students will be first, and I just mentioned the band is marching because we know that that's going to be definitely a priority area. So I have them. One of my other pictures got cut out here. Sorry about that. I also had a picture of the football team because I also just want to make sure that we're focused on that multi-center, that multi-purpose center is also going to enhance our athletic participation, our opportunities to utilize that space. We're out of space, frankly, to get all of our teams in a timely manner for practices, for example. Some of your students or your children are not coming home until like 10 o'clock at night simply because we don't have the space for all the practices and the games. Oh, there we go. Just have to click it one more time. Okay, and I credit to Mr. Battani during the first town hall presented on operational costs and also the revenues coming in potentially from the multi-purpose building. It's going to be on us as a district as we set up the business plan and for the time that we allocate for the different activities that are going on in this multi-purpose building. And that's going to, again, all come with time and with the design phase, knowing exactly what's going in there. And we will be going from there. But visiting, as you know, we shared with you, or we visited other facilities so that we can have a floor, if you will, and start designing and building this business plan that's going to work for Almont Community Schools. Outside of the multi-purpose center, we also are looking to provide opportunities to upgrade and replace various areas for our athletic facilities. Of course, one that we spoke about as well was our track. It's dangerous. It's unacceptable. We haven't had a home meet since 2017. A lot of you, if you've been out by the track, you can see that there's weeds and things growing up in it. With that said, I'm very aware that I did receive some emails after the first town hall as to why we weren't using some of the sinking fund dollars to replace the track. I confirmed this and I looked at our treasury application. The cost of a new track is $630,000. So if we were to use our sinking fund, currently right now, as it sits at $755,000, we would compromise 83% of the sinking fund. So working together with the Board of Education, this was not a fiscally responsible move. So of course, hence waiting to see what's going to happen here with the bond. But no, we don't think it's responsible to use that emergency fund to replace the track at this time. I also think it's important when you look at the Treasury application, if you've been, again, on that page, and if you're looking at the different line items, we're trying to touch and improve as many athletic programs and facilities as possible. So whether it is our football stadium here, trying to expand the bleachers, if we're looking to host a track meet, having places for people to sit would be wonderful and welcomed in the different communities as well. We have tennis. We have 8 to 9 tennis courts allocated so that they can see some improvements. Soccer, it'd be great to have a dugout and a press box. And also our softball, our varsity softball team having a press box as well. So we're looking to touch as many programs as possible with this bond project. At the middle school, it is the newest building, so probably the least as far as being touched, but with this bond project, but there's still things to do. We're looking to make sure that there's safety and security enhancements, infrastructural improvements, learning and recreational enhancements. Here's one of the diagrams that have been shared with you in the first town hall, highlighting the areas that we would touch at the middle school. First and foremost, again, safety. Our flooring has been an issue at the middle school for quite some years, so we'd like to take care of that. It bubbles up. If you've been at the middle school, it bubbles up throughout the main hallway. We'd like to include, again, part of our K-12 STEAM initiative, a STEM or Makerspace Center as part of our media, in part of our media center there, looking to enhance our playground area for recess with a playground with playground equipment that's age appropriate, repave parking lots at the middle school. And this is just one, again, another sample of more age appropriate upper L playground equipment you might see. At the Orchard Primary, again, looking at safety and security enhancements, infrastructural improvements, and of course, the connector, the 8 classrooms plus STEAM space. And this is a familiar drawing here with the 8 classrooms and the shared STEAM space between the OP and the middle school, allowing a lot of flexibility depending on those class sizes and the cohorts coming through. As you know, again, we have our preschool programs, both of them housed at the middle school currently, and our 4th grade is being housed at the middle school currently. So having that flex addition would allow us to put students back in their age-appropriate buildings. Also with the STEAM or STEM space classroom that will help us meet our vision for the K-12 STEM STEAM initiative. And also with a connector, it allows for thinking outside of the box and for some shared administrative services, whether that's a dean of students, whether that is counseling or behavioral support. It would be another fact that would go along with that connector. Here's just an example of Orchard Primary age-appropriate playground. As far as, again, questions that were coming about with the energy usage, especially with our additional instructional spaces, here's an FAQ that was added recently to our February update, and you can find that on the bond information page. In summary, what would be the average anticipated annual energy cost for the district for the newly created areas, the AMS OPA connector in the multipurpose building, if the bond passes? If the bond passes, the district's total energy costs would likely decrease due to the rooftop solar array that would be installed on the multipurpose building. The gas costs would be expected to increase by $28,000 over the annual average, but the electric costs would be expected to decrease by $95,227 over the annual average. So trying to offset those costs. More details, again, these slides were shared. Mr. St. Edge did a great job in the first town hall going through it more explicitly. But if you want to go to our bond info page, again, under our town presentation, our first one, you will see the slides outlined for you in detail. And if you do have more questions, then I would, if you have more questions about the energy usage, please make sure that you submit those questions tonight, and we'll see if we can get those answered for you. Really looking to push that you register to vote. I guess I'd be surprised how many are not registered to vote. So please, if you haven't, you can do it now. You can click on this QR code and get this taken care of. This is the bond information, the QR code. And this will take you right to the tab with the updated documents as well. So just give you a second. I see some cameras out. You want to take a quick picture of that? Okay. And just keeping in mind, again, whether this bond passes or not, this is, again, we are going to focus on the achievement and what we can offer our students at every grade level, pre-K through 12. Our students deserve the best. All kinds of pictures here, some of my favorites from this past school year. And so does our staff. So one of the points, I know a lot of this is student focused, and it should be, that's where it's at. But I also know that a lot of questions have come about what are we going to do to retain our staff here? Well, we definitely want to make sure that we have the facilities so that they can teach, and this can be a place of pride for them to stay throughout their career. Please don't forget to vote. February 27th, 15 days away here. Polls are open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. And of course, you can always submit your absentee ballot, vote early. One of the things that I wanted just to touch on, again, thanking you for your participation and interest in the school bond, submitting questions, maybe making me or, some of the support that I've received, making us dig a little bit, I guess, harder for some of the answers. And I've learned a lot throughout this process. I just hope that, again, whether this bond passes or not, that we are still going to be working together. So if this bond passes, we still need our strong community, our school community, to stand behind us and making sure that we're making the best decisions throughout this bond project. So yeah, the little saying is team, together, everybody, right? Everyone achieves more. If the bond does not pass, it's still going to take a team to go to the next step and make some decisions so that we're making best decisions to impact our students' educational experience for years to come. So please, I don't want this bond to divide us. I really want it to bring us together. I guess hence the word bond too. Okay. At this time, we are going to allow for some public comment. Again, just to remind you, if you're looking to ask questions, I'm asking that you submit those and place them in the tray. The questions, the forms were right when you were walking into the auditorium. You can fill out your question there. And again, within 5 business days, I will be reaching out to you. And even if at the very least, if it's something that I can't answer right now, I will let you know that that's something that I'm going to have to get back to you during the design phase of the project if the bond passes. Okay, so if that were to come as a situation there, I just want to let you know I will get back to you, but it might be a little bit later as far as a thorough response. And thank you for understanding that. But at this time, if you would like to make a public comment, we're going to ask that you, I'm sorry, let me read this real quick to you as well. Our standard language that we have at board meetings. That public participation shall be permitted as indicated on the order of business or at the discretion of the presiding officer. Participants must be recognized by the presiding officer and will be requested, to preface their comments by providing their name, address, and group affiliation if and when appropriate. Each statement made by a participant shall be limited to 3 minutes duration. No participant may speak more than once on the same topic unless all others who wish to speak on that topic have been heard. Participants shall direct all comments to the board and not to staff or other participants. All statements shall be directed to the presiding officer. No person may address or questions board members individually. Please see the procedural guidelines for the community packet for a full description. So just wanted to make sure you were aware of that, but would like for you, if you have a public comment, to come up to the microphone here. Please state your first and last name, and you will have 3 minutes to speak. I already said if you had a question, please fill out the question and put it in the tray, and asking that you be respectful at all times. So we do have the microphone here to my right, if you'd like to come up and make a comment at this time. You can make sure that's on, Colin. Thank you.
Yes, I'm Tom Evans. I live over on Westfield Drive. 90% of this has to be done. I get that. How was the figures come up with as far as for the multi-purpose facility field house? There was no site plan, no architectural drawing. How was that money figured out what that was going to cost? Without site studies, load factors for electrical, you know, I don't understand how that money was carved out or where that figure came from.
I'm Justin Scover, 7933 Dryden Road. I'm wondering, how did you get Roncelli and the French associate? Do they do bids? Like, how, or is there an open bid for that? And then for the buildings, like he said, like they're the diameter. I do like construction too. So like say if there's extra stuff, you're talking about millions of dollars. So that's what that's my question. Uh,
Hello, my name is Tony Demo. I live on Prunella Drive, and I was here at the last meeting and submitted some questions, but haven't heard back, about 14 of them, 4 pages worth.
I'm Frances Salampi. I live in Branch Street in Almont. I just have one question. For this multi-purpose room or building, I want to know how we're going to maintain it since we can't maintain the regular schools we have now. And now this is going to be a huge building. That's my question. I don't have questions about safety or what we need to update the school. I just have questions about this big building.
My name's Pam Frazaka, and you might see me up here more than once because it'll probably take more than 3 minutes. I would like to clear up a few things, if that's okay. At the last bond meeting, there were several of us that were basically attacked. And we were attacked by basically telling us that we were old, that we were former educators that didn't want the best for our kids, that we were living in the past. And I wanted to clear up a few things about how absolutely ludicrous that is. And I would hope that the majority of you would understand that. We spent our lives here. We spent our careers here. We spent our money here. Countless dollars we put into our classrooms. Countless hours of tutoring. The list goes on. So for those of you that are continuing to degrade the people who spent their years of their education and their experience in the classroom, and to continually tell us that we're old and we don't care, it's ridiculous. It's all over social media. It's all over the town. It's everywhere. So I put together, just real quickly before I left to come here tonight, why we are so concerned about this bond. Here's just a brief rundown of why we're concerned. If you go back to first of all, we've earned the right to be concerned. with our experience in the district, with our knowledge in the district, and with a lot of our extreme, vast, and depth knowledge of school finances, we've earned the right to be concerned. It's no different than all of the parents sitting here and grandparents sitting here that have earned the right to be concerned about their own children's decisions. You've earned that right because of your experience. There's really no difference in that. If we go back to the very beginning, we had Barton Mallow as our construction for the new building, which is the elephant in the room and what most of us are extremely concerned about. Barton Mallow all of a sudden disappeared. It's a big mystery. No one will really answer that question as to why that happened. Ron Silly has no experience at all in building school buildings. On top of that, it's been said over and over and over again, but the community approved a larger bond with Barton Mallow. That's absolutely false, and nobody was actually for that in the first place. And the reason for that is because it never came to fruition, and it never came to fruition because, if you'd like me to stop, I'll continue later. Thank you. That last bond never came to fruition because the state turned down what the school turned in. They would not approve a bond being as large as that in the first place. So the bond had to be scaled down. So those that are saying, but it was approved and the community okayed it, but now they don't want one that's lower, is absolutely ridiculous. It never came to fruition. On top of that, we're being asked, and Mrs. Von Heltmeyer explained a little bit, however, there are many of us that are not buying it, that a lot of the design of the building, what's going to go in the building, comes in the design phase. That's because that's how Ron Silly has wanted it and how the school board has wanted it. That didn't happen with the construction of the building you're sitting in now. It did not happen with the construction of Orchard Primary. It did not happen with the construction of the middle school. You're being asked to vote on a $50-some million bond with something that you're not able to see. And I'm willing to bet that if you were going to go build your own house, you wouldn't just hand over $500,000-$600,000 to someone who was going to build it without seeing the plans first. That's just silly. None of us would do that. There's also no particular land placement for the building right now. And we've heard all kinds of what ifs, this might be in it, this might be in it. We've seen lots of nice pictures about what it could look like. But what it could look like with all of these things that are planning to be in there or that have been mentioned could be in there, the building's not going to be big enough for that. Plain and simple, not big enough. We're all concerned about the operational costs of the building. That's the biggest hurdle in this entire bond. As it has right now, the board has, in the last several years, adopted deficit budgets. That means they're spending more than they can bring in. And we get our money from per pupil bond, per pupil funding, taxes, and all the grants that we get for all the special programs for the kids. We've had several different business managers in our district in the last several years. We've also lost them. In fact, we don't have one right now. He quit a week or so ago. The ISD is helping us out, but we have no one in the business manager capacity that is hired by Almont School District at the moment. We can't use the bond funds for the operational costs. We've been told over and over and over again, 3 major things that in the way that they're going to be able to afford this extra building. First of all, with the money that we have now, we can't afford a fourth building. The money's not there. I was always taught, thanks to my parents, who are both gone, that you don't spend what you don't have. And that's what we're doing with this. We're counting on solar panel savings, we're counting on DTE kickbacks, and we're counting on renting out the building. DTE has already raised our costs twice in the last year. There's no counting on that those kickbacks are going to be there for the lifetime of this building. We can't count on that. We have been given lots of facts and figures about the solar panels. I will be the first to admit don't know much about that at all. However, I kind of think that if the solar panels were going to be saving that much money, that every one of us would be putting solar panels in our houses. And that's not happening. We even have a couple community members who have said they have them in their house and wish they'd never done it because it's not as big of a savings as they were told it was going to be. Renting out the building is a wonderful fantasy at this point, and that's exactly what it is a fantasy. There's no plan for it. We don't know how much you would charge. You don't know when the building would actually be able to be utilized. We don't have any binding contracts from anybody that says we're going to, if this building is constructed, we're going to move our whatever practice to the school. We're going to do whatever function to the school. Even if we did have those, that money is not going to accumulate right away. So in the first years of this building, the operational costs are going to have to come out of the general fund. And we don't have the general fund monies right now. I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Can you say that again? That's fine. Oh, that's fine. Not a problem.
Hello, my name is Tom Shane. I live over on Tub Spring. Just in response to a few things. First of all, the field house. We're right. The general fund doesn't have it, right? The general fund right now isn't working for us. And that's why the field house is out here. Okay. The field house, if you look at the presentation, the first presentation by the board, also a couple slides in here, the field house can contribute to the general fund. The fact that we're saying that it can't be rented out immediately, why not? When it's done, people can use it. That's a false statement. The other piece that we have to understand is if the field house doesn't get built, what happens? We still need space. What is that space? Probably another gym. How many people can run a gym? How many people in this room have ever gone into a gym in this school district to play basketball or walk or do anything of that sort? Probably zero. I'm an alumni of this school, and I can count on my hand how many times there has been an open gym for me to come up and play basketball on a Sunday. Just because you're not receiving the answers you like doesn't mean they're not answers. That's the part we have to get through. Okay? There's been a lot of research. I implore you to ask these questions of the board. Fill out the papers, ask the board members. They've done a ton of work. And just remember, Just because the answer isn't what you want it to be doesn't mean it's not the answer. I've heard about the field house not fitting things, and then I've asked those people, have you reached out to Mr. Batani? Well, no. Why not? I'd ask myself that. Every time you hear something that contradicts the board, is it coming from the board? They're doing their best to answer the questions. Have they been submitted? Or are we just listening to a bunch of rhetoric? I see I have 32 seconds left, so I'll save that for possibly later. Thank you.
My name's James McIntosh. I live 782 Elmdale. Let's see. I graduated at the old school, and this you know, it's showing its age. Per se, you know, say we need maintenance things done, updates to the HVAC. I think the solar is probably a good idea. I don't think the technology is quite there, but it's getting there, and it won't get there if we don't pursue it. But my question is, students' physical safety, due to school violence becoming more commonplace. I noticed one thing at the Uvalde school was there was very few doors where the kids could just push a door open and run away. I think that's something that most anybody would think is a sensible addition to the plans. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Dennis Campbell. I got a simple question here. What's the total cost of the field house? We're voting in a couple of weeks on a bond that's going to impact the community. 58 million for the bond, 52 million in interest. And if you look at your document that's online, Fieldhouse has got 17 million for that, and the 400,000 for parking. Additional, we got to move the tennis courts. We got to do everything else. I'm hearing it's not designed yet. We don't know how we're going to use it, but it's going to bring in all this kind of money. Shouldn't we had this town hall way before tonight to get this ironed out? I mean, you're looking at putting us in a bind for another 30 years with this. We're going to be in the same spot we are today with this school. We owe 12 million on the last bond. In 22 years, if all our tax values go up like they say they are, which I doubt they will, we're going to be in the same boat. Why not back this out, get something reasonable? This community will pay for something that makes sense. They will do 7 mills for 10 years. You already said that the community is going to grow by 14%. What's going to happen in 30 years? We'll be in the same spot. It doesn't make any sense. What does it cost? I mean, you've done a lot of research, you've done everything, you know how many light bulbs we got and what we're going to save on these solar panels and all this money we're going to recoup. It doesn't figure in the initial cost though. we're to save, what, 95,000 or something in utilities? He didn't add in the $2 million that cost to buy the solar panels. That comes from us. $110 million is what you're talking about. That's it.
Good evening. My name is Michelle Scover. I live at 7933 Dryden Road. My family's been in Almont for over 30 years. And my question, or I'm sorry, there's no questions tonight. My comment is, why weren't things maintained like track or things that were needed to be done all these years and let go? The other thing is, I am a self-employed person, and before I can do anything for my customer, they want to know how much they're going to spend. Because if I say fill this out and sign it with a zero at the bottom, I don't know how much it's going to cost, but just fill it out. They would walk out my door. I'm super, super sad for this school district.
That's the definition of a town hall, question and answer.
If you'd like to be addressed, could you please go to the microphone and state your name? Okay, thank you.
I guess I'll continue. First of all, I'd like to tell you that a lot of what I'm saying is not rhetoric, like was said earlier. I've had very lengthy conversations with Mrs. Von Hiltmeyer. So please don't think that I haven't done some of my research. And I've also been in the district long enough to know school finances. So this is not a mystery to me. Just a quick thing about the sinking fund. While I understand that there's a lot of money in there, I don't understand why it hasn't been spent. The sinking fund is not supposed to be used as a savings account, which is basically what we've been using it as. The money has just been sitting there for quite some time. Some of the cosmetic things that could have been easily fixed that didn't cost anywhere near $775,000, just as one example would be the partition that is in between the cafetorium at Orchard Primary. It started with a small hole. It's now a larger hole, basically because they're little kids and they pick at it. And that's the bottom line of why it got to be the way it did. There's no reason it couldn't have been fixed before that. And I'm not up here because I don't like the answers being given. A lot of the answers haven't been given. I've given this example before. First of all, the definition of a town hall is question, answer, question, answer. The word answer is in there if you look up the definition. Answers aren't being given in these types of settings. I don't know why. You're being told to write your answer or present your questions to them and they will answer you back. In my third grade classroom, if somebody asked me a question, I didn't go whisper the answer to that one child. I gave the answer to the whole class, and the whole community deserves that respect as well. They deserve to be told the answers in this type of setting. We have approximately 25% of our kids who are schools of choice. And contrary to popular belief, with some people, schools of choice is not a bad thing. Schools of choice for our district is a good thing. First of all, it does several things. It brings more per pupil funding into our district. And with that per pupil funding, we're able to provide a lot more for all of our kids, not just the schools of choice kids, everyone. However, with this bond, that 25% of our population, yes, we will receive per pupil funding, sorry about that, but we will not receive tax dollars. So those tax dollars are going to be on the heads and shoulders of about 3,000 households that are in Almont. And that's for 20 plus years. This board and Mrs. Von Heltmeyer, no offense, Mrs. Von Heltmeyer, but I'm sure you'll be gone way before this bond is done. It's a legacy cost. It's a legacy cost that this community will have for 20 plus years. We've been told, yes. I'm just about done, if you give me just a second here. We're being told if we have the right person to run this field house, we could make a lot of money on it. We can't keep administrators right now. And I implore you to find out why. I think your eyes would be opened. The bond is extravagant. It's something we cannot afford at this point. I want the best for our kids. We have staff members who have retired, that have still live within the community. They've come back as substitutes, volunteers, organizing different activities for the kids within the school. And I know of at least one who's been hired back in a completely different capacity. We care about the kids. We care about the community, but we also care about the financial stability of our district. And that's the problem at this point. We don't have the money for it right now. It's irresponsible of the board, it's negligent of the board, and it's reckless to be playing with the tax dollars of hard-earned community members when you don't know what their financial stability is. And we already know that we don't have a stable finances in the school right now. And I would just like to clear up one thing. Something that was in the newspaper in an article, and there is at least one person in this room right now that can verify it because they went to school with me. This is not 1986. First of all, 1986 didn't happen in 1986 because 1986 happened in 1976. We went on split sessions in 1976. The article that was written in the newspaper said that it started in 1986. It was over before 1986. It only lasted 6 years. And the person who wrote that needs to do their homework because it had zero, absolutely zero to do with people moving out of the district, plummeting housing prices, as well as, I believe the words were dire despair of the condition of the building. That is 1,000% false. And I know one person in this room that can confirm that with me because she, along with myself, were in school at that time. Please. Thank you. Please remember to vote.
My name is Catherine Slozik. I live off of Tub Spring as well. I'm just coming up here to say to the board, thank you. I have students in the Orchard Primary, one possibly going to the middle school next year. And I just want to say this makes me excited. The work that you've done makes me excited, makes me proud. And I am sure I am excited to the possibilities that could be for our community. So just really up here to simply express my gratitude to you guys.
Couple clarifications. You got it working? Colin? Couple clarifications. Number one, as far as the taxes, it's important to understand that it's going to be 7 mills. No matter what the amount. The 10 million, yes, if it's $10 million bond, you don't get anything done. We understand that. And if you end up going with a $10 million bond, if it's 8 years, 10 years, it's going to be 7 mills. What people are missing is at the end of that 10 years, what's going to happen? The next board is going to go for another bond. It's not going to drop to 3. It's not going to drop to 2. It's not going to drop to 0. Because that's the only way the schools get the funding. We're going from 8.45 mills down to 7 mills. Yes, I know we had a year in there of 8 mills. It's not misleading and it's not being non-transparent. It's going 84580 to 7 mills. Well, it could be less. It could be less. Well, the less is, everyone says, take out the field house. If we take out the field house, as Mr. Shane said, you're adding back in a gym. You're adding back in all of these other things that the staff asked for that are taken into account into this building. The difference is, whether you want to believe it or not, is $3 million. And that is the equivalent of about 2 years within the bond. So it's not this huge savings by eliminating that. It's taking that out with far more square footage and putting in something for far less square footage for about the same cost. The reason that's being done is because of the research that was put in. I'm hearing so many misleading information from a lot of people. I'm not on Facebook, thank God. And there's good reason for that. There's so much misinformation out there. The information is on the school site that we release. It sounds like there's some questions that weren't answered in FAQs. Those should be in there. I agree with that. But at the same time, the misinformation that's out there, go do your research. We did the research. And we continue to do the research as we go along. Most of the research from the information I'm hearing, your research is Facebook, and it can't be. It needs to be the information that's out there. One thing was brought up as far as the Barton Mallow mystery. No, it was approved by the state. It was going all the way to ballot. It was completely approved all the way through, stopped at ballot. And the reason was that the previous administration did not follow a proper RFP process. That is the reason the board stopped it and redid it. And yes, it was more. It was 72 million and we cut it to 65 million. Check the information on the school website. It's all in there. It's in the papers. Do your research. Understand who you're talking to. Understand who you're listening to. There are a lot of questions in here that should definitely be on the FAQ, and we'll definitely be pushing for that. But the information that is up there, there's an entire presentation from the previous town hall that was done. Has a lot of information in there, a lot within the FAQs. And as mentioned, submit them in writing. People think there's a lot of questions out there that were submitted. They're actually just on Facebook. So they think these questions are being floating around for months and months. They've never been submitted to the board per Mr. Shane's information. So any questions about the field house, feel free. Myself, Mr. Wade, the committee that was actually put together to actually do all this research, reach out to me. No one has. Understand. Come up and ask a question. It's quite, I agree. I agree. But here's the thing. I'm going to, a little inside information. The board doesn't run the school. Is that a surprise to most people? Okay. And we have a new superintendent that has a lot on her plate right now. But we have to make sure that the administration has the freedom to do what they need to do without telling her what to do. We've got swim lanes. So yes, it's hard for us. If some questions aren't being answered, we're biting our tongue at the same time. Many of you don't understand that's the process. I'm in a year and a few months. I can't stand the process. Okay? That process was new to me as well. But I came in to clean up that process with the previous administration. And believe it or not, with everything in the background, it's working. There's a lot of focus on the bond, and there's a lot of two sides. Last point, we went through an entire process with a steering committee. The steering committee received all of the information, including about the field house. That field house within the steering committee was 2-1 in favor of it because they had the information. So understand, there's a lot of people that say this shouldn't happen, this shouldn't happen. When the information was provided to the steering committee, it was 2-1 for it. Thank you.
Tim St. Ange, everyone, thanks again for coming tonight. And I want to reiterate what he said. Please don't get your information from Facebook. If information is presented on Facebook, you have to wonder, is it coming from an angle? Is there some reason behind it if the information is not accurate? Also, none of us on this board who approved getting to this process would have put this up if we thought there was any questions about not being able to afford this if the finances were not going to work out. We live here too. We have kids in the district too. We're not going to do something that we feel is reckless or irresponsible. We did the work. We put a lot of time in. Steering committees were done. Focus groups were done. This isn't a one-year process. It's been going on for a few years. Staff was consulted. All the teams, the coaches. This is a true community effort. It wasn't just the board came up with something and that's where we went. This was a lot of people involved. So I just implore you, please, like Mr. Battani, I don't even go on Facebook anymore. It's frustrating. You see a lot of things that are being said, and you can tell that it's coming from an angle it's not accurate. Come to us. My email is on the school board website. Send me an email. If it's something I can answer directly, I will. Some of these things have to be answered through the proper channels. Like Mr. Battani, the process is frustrating. It's frustrating for us too. We would love to just one-on-one tell you everything we want to tell you, but we can't. It has to be done a certain way, and there's reasons for that. So just obviously, we're here for the community as well, and we just ask that you get your information from the proper channels. Don't get your information from some anonymous person on Facebook. All right? Thank you.
Yeah, it's on.
Okay. I just wanted to thank everybody for coming today. This is a trying time for our community, right? But we are a community. So please take the time to vote. Please take the time to get the information. We have a ton of FAQs and information on our school website. There's a bond tab on there. It's filled with a lot of the information that people are looking for, a lot of the questions that you were asking for tonight. If you don't find what you're looking for, reach out to any one of us on the board. Please reach out to our superintendent, Mrs. Vaughn. She's very willing to help give answers and help you, direct you to what you need to see. I would encourage all of you to go on the high school tour that we're going to do here momentarily. Our high school principal over there, Mr. Shiflett, is going to be helping us with that. Take a look at the facilities right now, what we're asking for, and with help with this bond. Please stay and do the tour. I think it would really be beneficial to you. I think that's it. Yep.
Okay, I think we have to adjourn. Yeah. And then I'll do a closing. All in favor? Okay. I just wanted to say, if you are interested in doing the high school tour, just need 5 minutes. If I could meet you, how about if we just make it at, what time do we? Okay, so how about if we say 7:50? Just need a few minutes here to gather my things, and I will meet you right outside of the auditorium if you would like to go on the high school tour. I think everyone is aware, but just a reminder that here. If you're here, just we have winter break upon us here. Hopefully you received the district newsletter and that we're on break here from the 15th through the 20th. Just parents out there, just an FYI if you didn't see the district newsletter yet. Again, everybody, thank you for being here. Thank you in advance for understanding that this has been challenging times, but I will do my due diligence within 5 business days. If you have those questions, I want them to be thorough and accurate responses. I think you are owed that. So please submit your questions in the tray, located right at the entrance of the auditorium. Thank you.